All right. So are you ready to tackle the wild world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
We're taking a deep dive today
Okay.
into all those crazy challenges that entrepreneurs face.
Right.
You know, you sent in this podcast episode, and it's
Uh-oh.
called Overcoming Common Challenges in Entrepreneurship.
Right.
And we are going to break it down
Right.
and extract all of the wisdom we can
Sure.
to help you navigate the entrepreneurial jungle.
You know, it's interesting you say that because entrepreneurship is often so glamorized.
Right.
But the reality is that, pretty much anyone who takes this path faces similar challenges.
Yeah.
It's like a universal experience for entrepreneurs.
It's like a rite of passage.
Yeah, you could say that.
So this podcast episode that we're looking at, it dives right into some of the usual suspects
Okay.
that entrepreneurs face,
Sure.
starting with cash flow management.
Oh, yeah.
Now they compare this to trying to keep water in a sieve,
Oh, wow.
which honestly, I think that's not even stressful enough to describe what it's like. It's more like juggling flaming torches while riding a unicycle on a tightrope.
Uh-huh.
One wrong move, and everything just goes up in smoke.
Yeah, I think that's a much better visual.
Yeah.
You're right. Cash flow is just so essential for any business.
Yeah,
It really is the lifeblood.
it is.
And this podcast really stresses that
Yeah.
understanding your burn rate, like how quickly you're going through money,
Hmm.
forecasting accurately so you know how much money is coming in and out, and having a solid financial management system
Oh, yeah.
that can make all the difference
Yeah.
between surviving and thriving.
Totally.
Yeah.
And speaking of surviving,
Okay.
let's talk about market competition.
All right.
Have you ever seen Indiana Jones
Uh-huh.
when he's running from that giant boulder?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to stand out
Right.
in a totally crowded market.
That's a good analogy.
It can be so fierce.
It really can.
But, this podcast makes a really good point. It's not about just becoming another, face in the
Yeah.
crowd.
Yeah.
It's about carving out your own unique space.
Right.
Like imagine a sculptor chiseling away at a masterpiece
Uh-huh.
to make it stand out.
I like that.
Yeah.
So they're saying it's about really understanding the market
Yes.
and then figuring out what makes you special.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what makes your offering different.
Okay.
Now, the next thing that they talk about is time management.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I personally start to get a little stressed out
Oh, yeah.
because as entrepreneurs, we're always wearing a million hats at once.
Right.
It's like conducting an orchestra while simultaneously baking a 5-tier cake
Okay.
and performing a juggling act,
Uh-huh.
all before lunch.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But you know what? This
Okay.
podcast actually offers some pretty cool solutions,
Oh, really?
like the Pomodoro technique.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
I have. Yeah.
It's like these focused bursts of work
Mm-hmm.
with short breaks in between.
Okay.
So it's basically interval training for your brain.
Interesting.
You're maximizing your productivity,
Right.
but you're also trying to avoid burning out.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then, of course, the next big challenge
Right.
is building a strong team.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The podcast compares this to dating,
Okay.
but I think it's more like assembling like the Avengers.
Right.
You need to have all of the right superpowers to actually succeed.
I like that.
But,
Yeah.
the podcast really stresses that it's not just about hiring people with skills.
Right.
It's about building a really cohesive team culture
Mm-hmm.
where everyone feels valued,
Yeah.
and they give you some tips on how to actually foster that environment.
Okay, cool.
And do you know what they say the ultimate weapon is against all of these business challenges?
What's that?
Strategic planning.
Oh, yeah.
They call it the entrepreneur's GPS.
Uh-huh.
I love that because who wants to wander around the business world totally lost and confused?
Nobody wants to do that.
Right? And the podcast really dives into this idea of
Yes.
strategic planning.
All right.
They explain that a well-crafted strategic plan is like a roadmap
Okay.
for your business.
Yeah.
It outlines your goals,
Mhm.
your strategies,
Okay.
your financial projections.
It's a blueprint.
It is a blueprint,
Yeah.
and it all starts with a really solid business plan,
Okay.
which the podcast says is like your treasure map,
Yeah, I like that.
leading you to those X marks the spot.
Yeah.
Moments of entrepreneurial victory. They emphasize over and over again
Okay.
that a clear business plan
Right.
is the foundation
Mm-hmm.
for literally everything else.
Okay.
It's where you define your vision,
Yeah.
you analyze your target market, and you outline your whole financial roadmap.
So having that plan in place can make all the difference.
It really does.
Yeah.
And to help navigate those like choppy financial waters,
Right.
the podcast suggests that we embrace all of the awesome financial management tools that are out there.
Oh, yeah. There are so many good ones.
There really are.
Yeah.
It's like having a co-pilot
Okay.
that's helping you track your cash flow,
Right.
manage your expenses,
Yeah.
and make those really important decisions.
Uh-huh.
Remember those flaming torches we were juggling earlier?
Yeah, I do.
Think of these tools as like a safety net
Okay.
that are there to catch them before they hit the ground.
So it kind of takes some of the pressure off.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then there's that challenge
Mhm.
of standing out in a really crowded market. The podcast compares this to finding your unique voice on a stage
Okay.
full of performers.
Right.
So how do you stand out
Right.
when there's so much noise?
Yeah.
They talk about differentiating your brand,
Uh-huh.
which they say is basically like showcasing your unique personality.
Okay.
Like all those little quirks
Yeah.
that make you you
Mhm.
and understanding your audience.
Oh, yeah, that's so important.
Like a comedian
Okay.
reading the room before they deliver the punchline.
Yeah, like understanding what people want to hear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this podcast says you really have to dig deep
Okay.
to understand what your audience wants and needs,
Right.
even if they can't articulate it themselves.
I've become a mind reader.
Totally. It's like anticipating their needs before they even know they have them.
Very cool.
Okay, so we've talked about cash flow and competition and branding,
Uh-huh.
but now
Yeah.
it's time to tackle
Ooh.
time management,
Right.
the arch nemesis
Oh, yeah.
of every entrepreneur out there.
It's a constant struggle.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's like you're trying to defuse a bomb
Okay.
while you're solving a Rubik's Cube blindfolded.
Right. It's just you against the clock.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
So this podcast actually has some really cool strategies.
Oh, good, because I need them.
Yeah. Well, they talk about prioritizing tasks
Okay.
using what's called the Eisenhower matrix.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. It's basically this tool that helps you categorize all of your tasks based on urgency and importance. So it's kind of like having your own air traffic controller
I love that.
to like guide you through all the distractions.
Yes.
Help you land those important tasks.
Keep me on track.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got our tasks under control.
All right.
Now we have to remember that whole team building aspect.
Oh, yeah.
The podcast compares this to tending a garden.
Okay.
You really have to nurture it,
Uh-huh.
provide the right environment,
Mhm.
and then just watch it all flourish.
So what kind of strategies do they offer for that?
Well, they talk about
Yeah.
establishing really clear communication channels
Okay.
so that everyone's on the same page, and then fostering a culture of feedback.
Right. So people can learn and grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then just creating opportunities for professional development.
So it's all about helping your team reach their full potential.
Totally. It's like creating an ecosystem where everyone can thrive.
Like a coral reef
Yes.
with all the different, life.
Exactly. And I think it's so cool how all of these things work together.
What do you mean?
Like cash flow management,
Wow.
market differentiation,
Yeah.
time management,
Right.
team building,
All of it.
all of it.
Yeah.
It's like an intricate dance
Okay.
where every step influences the next.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and the podcast really emphasizes this,
Okay.
that strategic planning
Uh-huh.
is not just about creating a document and then sticking it in a drawer.
You're right.
It's about understanding how all of these pieces fit together.
Yeah, it's like a symphony orchestra
Yes.
where every instrument has a specific role to play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it all comes together to create this beautiful sound.
That's a great analogy.
I try.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about all this theory,
Mm-hmm.
but how does it actually play out in the real world?
That's a good question.
Well, this podcast shares some stories
Oh.
that really bring it all to life.
Okay.
So there's this one story
Yeah.
about this startup that was like on the verge of collapse
Oh, no.
because of cash flow problems.
Wow.
They were like adrift at sea.
Okay.
Their ship was taking on water.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know what to do.
So what did they do?
Well, instead of panicking,
Okay.
they implemented a new financial tracking system.
Right.
They got really serious about forecasting.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what?
Right.
It totally turned things around.
Oh.
It's such a good example
Yeah.
of how taking a step back
Right.
and then implementing a strategic solution
Uh-huh.
can have such a huge impact.
Like they repaired the leaks and got back on course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's another story about this company
Okay.
that was struggling to stand out
Hey,
in a super saturated market.
that's a tough one.
It's so tough.
Yeah.
They're trying to like shout over this roaring crowd,
Mm-hmm.
but no one could hear them.
What do they do?
So they went back to the drawing board,
Okay.
revamped their whole brand positioning,
All right.
figured out what made them unique.
Mm-hmm.
really clarified their value proposition.
So they found their voice.
They found their voice.
Yeah.
And the results were amazing.
Really?
They got way more customers,
Mm-hmm.
increased sales,
Wow.
and a whole renewed sense of purpose.
That's incredible.
It really is.
Yeah.
And these stories really highlight how important strategic planning is.
They do.
It's not just a theory.
Right.
It's something that can actually get you real results.
Yeah. And it's not a one-time thing either.
That's what I was going to say. It's an ongoing process.
Right, because the business world is constantly changing.
Always changing.
Yeah, so you got to be ready to adapt.
Yeah. It's like you're sailing a ship
Okay.
in uncharted waters.
Uh-huh.
You have to be ready for storms.
Yeah.
Adjust your sails.
Right.
Navigate all the obstacles.
But keep your eye on the prize.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now we've talked about these common challenges.
Right.
We've explored how strategic planning can help.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen some real-world examples.
Yeah.
So now it's your turn.
Okay.
Think about your entrepreneurial journey.
Right.
Are you facing any of these same challenges?
Yeah. Are you feeling overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed by the competition?
Are you struggling to manage your time?
Or maybe you're having a hard time building a team.
Remember, all of this is totally normal.
You're not alone.
The important thing is to remember
Yeah.
that you can actually turn all of these challenges into opportunities.
Exactly.
If you use strategic planning.
It's about taking control and making informed decisions.
Yeah, think of it as giving yourself the right tools and knowledge to navigate this crazy entrepreneurial jungle.
So it's all about being proactive.
It is.
Yeah.
And remember, strategic planning is not a magic bullet,
Right.
but it's like this powerful compass
Oh, yeah.
that can help guide you.
Yeah, through all the uncertainty.
Yeah.
So it's like having this secret weapon
Right.
in your entrepreneurial arsenal.
Yeah.
It's not about having all the answers up front.
It's more about having a way to figure them out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what else?
What's that?
This podcast episode really encourages listeners to seek out resources and get guidance
Oh, that's so important.
along the way.
Yeah.
It's about connecting with mentors.
Right. Finding people who have been there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Joining different communities
Mm-hmm.
and just never stop learning.
Right.
Read
Yeah.
those books.
Yeah. Take some courses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you're building this amazing support network,
Okay.
this team of advisors
Mm-hmm.
that are always there to offer guidance and encouragement.
Yeah. Like you've got your own personal cheer squad.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that really stood out to me from this episode
Okay. What's that?
is that even though entrepreneurship is challenging,
Mm-hmm.
it's also incredibly rewarding.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about creating something new.
Yeah. Taking an idea and making it real.
Yes. And pursuing something that you're passionate about.
And making a difference in the world.
Totally. And you know what they say in the episode?
What do they say?
The entrepreneurial journey is a marathon.
Not a sprint.
Exactly.
Yeah. You got to pace yourself.
And there are going to be moments
yeah, for sure.
of doubt and setbacks.
Right. You're going to hit some roadblocks.
And it's going to test your resilience.
You're going to have to dig deep.
You really do.
Yeah.
But I think it's those moments
Mm.
when the true spirit of entrepreneurship shines through.
Yeah. It's about never giving up.
Having the grit and the determination.
Right. And believing in yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even when things get tough.
Even when it's hard.
Yeah. And remember,
Yeah.
you don't have to go through this alone.
Oh, that's so important.
There are so many entrepreneurs out there,
Uh-huh.
all facing the same challenges.
We're all in this together.
And we're all celebrating each other's successes.
That's a great point.
So tap into that network.
Yeah.
Seek out some guidance.
Mm-hmm.
And remember,
Yeah.
you are not alone.
I love that.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive,
Right.
we want you to take all of these insights,
Yeah.
this inspiration,
The strategies.
and apply it to your own journey.
That's right.
Embrace those challenges. Stay focused on your vision.
Keep learning and growing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And never give up on those audacious dreams.
That's what it's all about.
Until next time,
Yeah.
happy entrepreneuring.